Welcome back to Real Estate with Caroline. Today I am interviewing Jessie Ago from M&L Insurance over here in Coral Springs. She is my go-to person for all things related insurance. So what we're going to do today is I'm basically going to grill you, Jessie, ask you all the questions I get asked, and I'm sure you get asked. Feel free to answer them. Guys, if we miss anything, you can always give us a call or leave it in the comments below, and we'll try and do a follow-up video after. So let's get started. First thing I get, Jessie, is somebody says, hey, what's the insurance going to be on this home? And I know they're always different and there's different factors. So if someone said that, how would we go through that in South Florida? You know, they're getting a single family home, no HOA, it's just a home. What would you need? Is it based on just the house or a lot of other stuff?
As you know, location, right? So zip code matters, how close to the ocean you are, how old your house is, how old your roof is. So say there's a 1970 house in Coral Springs. We'll say 1,500 square feet with a pool. So right off the bat, we're looking at maybe $300,000 of insurance costs. Say it's a brand new roof, fully mitigated with shutters, clips to hold the roof down in case of a hurricane. And say right now they are not required to purchase flood insurance, just the hazard and the wind together. I would say that could range anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000. That's literally how that goes. So there are so many factors when it comes down to it. I don't like to give out numbers like that because it matters how the nails are, how old the roof is, and if every single opening of the home is impact protected.
Yes. So that's a thing a lot of people really don't get about insurance, especially when they're not from Florida. So I was even sticker shocked when I first came down because I just lived in the Midwest. We just had insurance. It was under $1,000 a year, and that was it. And then I come here and I'm like, wait, there's wind, there's flood, there's fire, there's hazard, I don't know what's going on. There's a million different kinds of insurance. And if I heard you right, it's hard, not only because of how close you are to the beach, but if you're in a flood zone, which is a separate insurance.
Yes.
And then also the structural, which as a real estate agent, we would get a 4-point inspection. You would need that as an insurer. Is that how that works? Like we'd have to have that, or do you not need it?
So for most houses, you would want a 4-point inspection, which is about eligibility on where can I quote you. And then the wind mitigation on homes 2001 and later or older, and that would be how much money can I save you. So you get your home inspection, that's for you, the real estate agent, and also the home buyer to know every nook and cranny of your home. I don't want to see that. I'd like to see that wind mitigation and 4-point because that's going to tell me where can I quote it and then how much can I save you.
And also a lot of people don't realize it's not just the person itself that's buying the home. The owners that owned it previously could have made multiple claims, and that can affect the rate too, right?
Yes, that can affect the rate and the availability. In the last couple of years, since we're in a slightly volatile insurance market, the insurance companies now actually look at you as the buyer. When did you make any claims before? And then on the home that you're purchasing, has any claims been made on that home previously as well? So all of those things factor onto where and how much it's going to be.
Okay. And I always, if I'm getting a mortgage, the mortgage company has to have wind and fire. Is that how that works?
Correct. So what it is in insurance in Florida, it's a combination policy. So fire, which are hazards. So fire, theft, vandalism, pipe burst, right? Then you get liability. And then you have wind insurance, which is tornado, hurricane, regular rainstorm in June or July. All of those things are typically in one. If you go closer to the ocean, you can split those up. If you are in a high-risk flood area, then the mortgage company will also require you to get flood insurance. The easiest way to describe flood insurance is rising water from the outside. Okay, so it doesn't matter when it happens. If it happens during a hurricane and it rises up, that's still flood. So if you don't have that, you are not covered. And although you're not always required to purchase it, it is a very important coverage to have in Florida because we are surrounded by water. So
sorry, can you get that if you're not in a flood zone? Could you say, hey, I still want it?
So what I like to tell people is as soon as you cross over into Florida, you're in a flood zone. It's whether it's high risk or low risk. So it is available in any part of the state, let alone country, and then the rates vary.
Okay. And that just depends on the risk involved.
Correct.
Right? So we did one recently together, and this was an interesting one that a lot of people might not know. I didn't know until you told me. So it was the condo, and it was on the water, and that the flood insurance was included. So I guess maybe unpack. You're getting a condo, number one.
Right.
And then number two, in this particular case, they actually were on the water. So the association actually had flood insurance, which saved the homeowner.
Correct.
Can you explain like that kind of scenario? So now we're moving into condos.
Okay, so with condominiums, flood insurance is a federal government program, so the rules are different. So we have to go by what the federal government states. And with condos for flood only, the association coverage actually includes the walls as well and the cabinets, floors, and fixtures. So the association is required to carry a specific amount of flood insurance to be able to rebuild the inside of every single unit up to $250,000 or replacement cost, whichever is greater. So,
or replacement cost. Oh.
Yes. So if the replacement cost on the unit is $100,000, then that's what the bank would be, the mortgage company, one more time, the condo would be required to purchase. If the replacement cost of the unit inside is $300,000, the maximum amount is actually $250,000.
So this would, if you're buying a $3 million condo on the beach, it's different than buying a $250,000 with the policy.
It is, however, the maximum amount of flood is only $250,000.
So no matter what, that's it.
Correct.
$250,000.
Yep, that's
okay. But they could.
There is at times something called excess flood, but for condominiums, it's not as common.
Okay. So now, say I'm moving down here and I'm buying a condo. What would you ask me then? Hey, what's insurance? Me as a realtor, I typically say, well, they're going to have condo insurance, and I find out what if the roof is covered, the exterior maintenance, all the things, and when they were actually done. And I know we have this whole issue now with anything over 3 stories, they have all these things, that need to be remodeled. So how does that play into insurance now?
So actually, when it's over 4 stories and above, the construction is typically something called superior masonry, where they'll like rebar, and it'll be super reinforced. And that's good for insurance because that means you are more protected. So that's actually a good thing for us, for insurance, for you, I guess, for your pricing, because it better protects your box. Condominium insurance picks up wherever the association leaves off. So there are times where the association guidelines require them to cover up to the drywall. And then there are times where the association only requires for them to cover to the studs. So when you see your number HO6, that is basically saying we're going to pick up where your association policy leaves off. So typically the drywall or the floors, the fixtures, the cabinets, those are the things that your dwelling will be. So that's what you'll be responsible for. And then as well as your personal property and liability.
So HO6 means something happens and I just get drywall and no cabinets.
Vice versa from the association. The association will they'll build you your box and then you have to put everything else in it.
So that's where you would help me get the proper insurance.
Correct.
On that. Okay. So then that's how I would do that. Okay. And then do you have any issues insuring, like is it higher? Like I know some of these properties, and I'm just asking because we have all these re-inspections coming out and all these repairs that need to be done on a lot of these condo buildings. I don't know if that affects the price of insurance.
Nope.
It's not.
Nope.
So that's very good to know.
Yes.
Tell me.
I was going to say, really, it's more of if the unit itself has impact protection, that would help your insurance. So although people say, I don't need a wind mitigation because my building has coverage, well, no, you still want to get a wind mitigation inspection. Make sure that the inspector uses the information from the building as a whole and then does your windows separately, and it has your name on it because it's actually a different form. There are times where I can use the building inspection, but just know I cannot give you opening protection like the windows. I can't give you it from that building inspection.
Got it. So they could actually save money if there were protected, like hurricane protection windows,
Correct.
and then you're going to insure the policy. So that would be worth getting,
Correct.
right? Okay. Do they still need a 4-point? Is that something they need?
So if you asked me this 6 months ago, I would tell you no. However, in the last couple of months, again, with changes with the insurance, there are a number of companies that will require a 4-point inspection on condos. I would tell you it is typically like 30 years and up, 30 years and older. Before that, probably not.
Okay. So always, and that's why I tell people when we get questions about insurance, not only is Florida like just special, period, then free property has its own special requirements depending on the property type and all these things. So, there's a lot into buying a home, and people just factor in whatever they see on the internet. And, that's a separate conversation, but they'll say, oh, the taxes are low on this property, or this is low. And it's like, but that's not you're paying, we have to quote you based on you in this purchase price.
Correct.
Not, yeah. Or like the homeowner will say, my insurance is really low. Well, and this is me as a realtor, but I'd love to hear how you would answer this. I'll say, well, yeah, they bought the house 30 years ago for 80,000 and you're buying it for 560. You're getting insurance on, your that amount. And so insurance is going to be different even in that aspect. Is that accurate to say that?
Yes, because it's not always the purchase price, because market value is very different from rebuilding value, and insurance is all about rebuilding your home and putting it back whole. But they may be grandfathered into a policy for a company who's not selling insurance anymore. They're just keeping their book. For example, my mother-in-law had a condo in Boca Raton, and she had her policy for 10 years. It was a fantastic price. The person who bought her unit cannot buy that insurance because they are not selling it. They are just maintaining it.
And I've seen this. That's why when homeowners quote, oh, I'm getting a great price, I'm like, that might not necessarily be true for you. I'm not, talk to Jessie. This is why I refer everyone to you, because I know you'll have the answer. So that one. And then another thing that comes up a lot is townhomes, because some townhomes cover the roof and some don't, and lots of drama about roofs. So can you unpack that?
So Hurricane Wilma, which is 10/25, the anniversary just passed, basically changed that question for insurance forever, because there were a number of townhomes that had roof funds but did not cover the structure itself. And that is the case as well now. So whenever there's a townhome, I ask them, if someone drove a car through your wall, who's responsible to rebuild it? You or the association? Because if you go to different, they're going to have roof funds. So they're going to collect $50 a month or whatnot to put into the roof surplus, because they're going to take care of everybody's roof when it's time to replace it. But you may still be in charge of if something were to happen to it in the meantime. There's a leak, or there's a fire in your kitchen and you have to fix the walls on the outside. So that's where I go. The best thing is to do is check the HOA fees, and then right away you're going to ask the HOA company or COA company, whichever, for a copy of their insurance. That will tell me, the insurance agency, as well as your mortgage broker or yourself, what is covered. Because you'll specifically see property insurance and they'll put the addresses there, and you can see how much each structure is covered for. That way you know you're only responsible for walls in. If not, then although you have your roof fund, you still have to insure your whole structure.
And a lot of people don't factor that in too. And that's where a pet peeve of mine sometimes with agents, because they don't provide the insurance information or the budget,
Mhm.
which we need, one for insurance and one for financing when somebody's making a purchasing decision. And a lot of buyers are thinking they're just going online and reading what that says. Oh, like I said, taxes are low or this is low. And it's like, that's not what, no, we have to, we have to figure what your costs are going to be,
Correct.
which will be different. And I'll do a separate thing about that. Are there any other like, I know we're talking about homes, so if there's anything you want to go over that you think I didn't cover, please feel free. And then maybe other types of insurance that you'd like to talk about that I didn't even think of that you would do.
So I would just say that everybody's thinking, oh, Citizens is the only place to go, which is the state. And I will tell you flat out, it just depends on your agent. Being an independent agency, we are actually appointed to numerous companies. And I actually just today was able to quote a house in Davie, a 1995 house, with 8 different carriers. Because brand new roof, updated water heater, newer AC, and impact protection. So instead of me only giving 1 or 2 options, I was able to present him with 8. So don't listen to your neighbors of, oh, there's no insurance providers, only Citizens. Or, oh, Citizens is the best. No, they're actually the insurer of last resort. And as an agent, I'm not allowed to quote you with them unless they are the only option. So just know that there are times when you need them, but there are times when you don't.
And that's why it's important to speak to an agent, because your job really is to get the best coverage at the best price for somebody. That's, that you do this all day. Am I understanding that correctly? Like,
Correct.
that's what you're trying to figure out,
Yes.
right?
Best coverage for you. Everything people like to ask me, well, what would you do? And I tell them, I can't tell you what to do, and I cannot recommend anything to you. My job is to inform you as much as possible with this language that I speak and have to continue to learn on, so that you can best understand what is right for you, budget wise, coverage wise. In these times right now, with these prices, there are times where maybe you need to start with a higher deductible. And then next year, you're in a better spot and you can change that. Or another option has been provided, or you changed your roof, or you got that garage door done. So on that note, there are times when you're buying a home and you're missing one opening for your opening protection, your shutters or whatnot. You can always get that fixed, and in the middle of your term, get a new inspection and get that discount applied. So don't think that you're stuck as soon as you buy your home with what insurance you found, because you can always add discounts midterm, and or if something else has changed drastically, you can also change policies.
And that's where you come in. So when you're saying, just so in case people aren't following, she's talking about the wind mitigation when she says change your garage door. So if your garage door wasn't like hurricane, whatever resistance rating they need right now, then you wouldn't qualify for the wind mitigation. But once you replace that garage door, if that was the only item, now you will. Sometimes it's the front doors. Sometimes it's just one window.
Yep.
And then, so those things matter. And yeah, you're not doing it at the closing or right away, but when you do it, then that would be something where you would call again and say, hey, I got this done, can you requote me, right?
Correct.
Okay. And do you just do, like, what if somebody has a home and a boat?
So
Are you going to do the boat?
since I'm a 220 PNC license, I can write auto insurance, boat insurance, your RVs, golf carts, motorcycles. I can do jewelry, fine arts, because that's a big thing. Homeowners insurance doesn't really cover any specialized items. So when I do my spiel and explain, I said your personal property, furniture, appliances, clothes, electronics. I don't include jewelry because it's not really covered. If you were to have people, typically women or females will have their wedding ring, and gentlemen will have watches. If you have a $5,000 watch and you lose it, it is not covered on your homeowners. So you would get what's called a personal article floater. And more often than not, we would do a separate policy for that, just to keep it so you wouldn't make a homeowner's claim. And it's most of the time less expensive as well. So you have your home, you have your car, I can do your boat, I can do your jewelry, you want additional liability because you have assets you need to protect, called an umbrella or excess liability, I could write that as well. So it's all about rounding you so that you are the most protected. And if you were to have a claim, you would have one person to call. So say, for example, the floods that happened in Fort Lauderdale, right? Say it was raining, right? Tree hit your roof, it's raining in. The water's rising up, it's flooding in, and your car has also gotten flooded. Instead of you having to call different agents for your flood insurance, your home insurance, and your car insurance, I would want you to have all of your policies with me, as of course, if I can get the best rate. And you would have one person to call to make all those claims. And it's a little easier to manage in that time of need.
Yes. No, I think it's very important. And those were the two situations I think people really get confused on. So now that you brought it up, I think maybe we should go over that. And if you think of anything else. So flood, and I'm speaking from the realtor side. I know you're the insurer. So I had a situation where it was a business. It was Hurricane Wilma, so it was the one in '05.
Mm-hmm.
And the things started flying in the windows. So all the windows broke. There was like a tree in one window and then whatever. It didn't flood in the area in Wilma, but all the wind and the rain, I mean, the place was soaked.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was damaged. And because we went back and forth, long story short, they were trying to say it was, well, we don't cover flood. And it's like, but that wasn't a flood. That was a tree flew in the window and the place got wet. So that's your wind, right? And your hazard. And can you, versus, and I'll say the other one recently, which was, I don't want to say funny, but because it wasn't funny, but we had like the 100-year flood in Fort Lauderdale and Broward County. It really rained. I mean, cars were floating away if they were smaller, literally just floating in the water. People were swimming, that got out of work. Homes, that's a flood. So it just flooded the streets and the water went up and it was like in your house from the floor, like seeping in like that.
Yes.
That you had to, if you didn't have flood insurance, you're not covered. So can you explain the difference between the two? Because I think that's what really got me when I first, back in 2000 when I was here. And I was like, what?
It is just, how did the water get there? Like exactly how you're saying, it's rising up. So water rising up from the outside and it comes up and then that's how it gets in. That is flood.
Right.
If it, like you said, breaks a window, rips the roof and comes down and the water comes in that way, that's specifically that hazard. So if it were a hurricane or a tornado rips the roof off, rains in, right? So that would be where the differentiation is. How did the water get there? Not when, right? Because Hurricane Wilma, it's not when, it's how. How did it get there? During Irma in 2017, I remember a few people who specifically had both hurricane damage and flood damage. And they can tell by the watermarks how it got there, right? Because they can tell how it's coming down versus how it's coming up. So that's on the insurance adjusters, which is not me, and how they can handle it all. But when you're fully covered by flood insurance and the hazard wind, policies, it leaves less of a question because it's going to get covered. So the people coming in to fix your home are more apt to get working on your home because they know that they're getting paid somehow.
Right. And because people have such low insurance coming from other states, especially areas like the Midwest, I think it's prudent to talk to somebody when you are considering that purchase, because like what you said, I mean, it's the person, it's the home, it's the property. So it's not like they can just call you up and say, hey, I'm thinking of moving to Florida. That's a very general question, but it is prudent to talk to you, hey, I'm buying, in this community in Fort Lauderdale. I have Caroline, we're under contract, and here you go. So you'll meet Jessie at some point, but if you have any questions and they want to get a hold of you and even maybe see, because things could have changed for people that they didn't even think of, where they're not maybe buying a home, but like you said, they did all these repairs and they never really got a quote after that to see what their insurance would be.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So if they wanted to get a hold of you, I know you have, I can put like the website, the phone number, the email, all in the description below, but just so you can say it, some people, might be driving or whatever. And
Yep. So email.
they want to talk to you.
Email is fantastic. Also phone. So my email is my name. It's Jessie at mlinsurance.net. And my phone number is the office line, which is 954-340-2323. My specific extension is 221. So if ever you do call in and you forget, just say Jessie. And Caroline referred me to Jessie. And everyone in the office will make sure that you get to me.
There you go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this interview and really help me unpack insurance in Florida. One more thing. You're the whole state, even though I'm like Boca Raton to Aventura, you're anywhere, right?
Key West to Pensacola, everywhere, yeah.
Okay. So they don't need to just be in my area to call you. I just wanted to make sure they knew that. And again, thank you so much for doing this interview for me.
Any questions, anytime, give me a call.
All right, guys. Hope you liked the video. Please, if you had any questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll try and address them. Take care. Talk to you.
Thank you.
Bye.